The envelope felt heavy in Kwame's hands as he stood in the middle of the packed courtroom. His wife, Efua, sat across from him, her eyes wide with disbelief as the judge read through the documents. She had walked into this hearing expecting nothing, maybe even thinking she could charm her way through it like she always did. But today, everything was different. Today, the gentle husband she had mocked and betrayed for 3 years was about to show her just how carefully he had been planning. "Mr. Mensah," the judge said, adjusting his glasses. "These documents appear to be in order. The property deed shows clear ownership in your name alone, dated before your marriage." Efua shot up from her seat. "That's our house. He can't just take it." Kwame remained calm, his face expressionless. In his hands were not just property documents, but bank statements, photographs, text messages, and signed testimonies. 3 years of evidence. 3 years of humiliation, lies, and disrespect, all carefully documented. He had been called weak, stupid, a fool by his own wife. She had brought her lover into their home, spent his money on another man, laughed at him with her friends. But Kwame had never been weak. He had been patient, strategic, waiting for the perfect moment. The judge continued reading, and with each word, the color drained from Efua's face. Her lawyer whispered, 3 years earlier, Kwame had been the happiest man in Accra. He had married Efua in a beautiful ceremony that everyone still talked about. She was stunning, confident, and full of life. Kwame worked as an accountant at a respected firm, making good money, while Efua managed a small boutique that barely broke even. But Kwame never complained. He paid all the bills, gave her money for her business, and treated her like a queen. His friends warned him. His cousin Ajoa pulled him aside at a family gathering and said, "Kwame, I love you, but open your eyes. Efua doesn't respect you." But Kwame brushed it off. He believed in his marriage. He believed in love. The first sign came 6 months into the marriage. Kwame came home early from work one day and found Efua on the phone, laughing in a way she never laughed with him anymore. When she saw him, she quickly ended the call. "Just a friend," she said with a dismissive wave. Kwame wanted to believe her. Then the late night started. Efua would come home at midnight, sometimes later, smelling of expensive cologne that Kwame didn't own. "Business meeting," she would say. "Networking event." Kwame would nod and go back to bed, his stomach churning with doubt. One evening, Kwame's friend Ya saw Efua at a restaurant in OSU, sitting very close to a man named Kojo, a businessman known for his flashy lifestyle. They were holding hands across the table. Ya called Kwame immediately, but when Kwame confronted Efua, she exploded. "You're going to believe your jealous friends over your own wife?" she screamed. "You're pathetic, Kwame. A real man wouldn't be so insecure." Kwame apologized. He actually apologized for doubting her. That night, something inside him cracked, but he said nothing. Instead, he went to his laptop and created a new folder. Kwame's hands trembled the first time he installed the security camera. It was a small device, hidden in the bookshelf of their living room. He told himself he was being paranoid, that maybe he would find nothing and could finally relax. But deep down, he knew the truth was coming. 3 days later, he watched the footage from his office during lunch break. There on the screen was Efua, letting Kojo into their home. Their home. The house Kwame had bought with his own savings before they even got married. He watched as they sat on his couch, drinking his wine, laughing. Then Kojo leaned in and kissed her. Efua kissed him back. Kwame closed his laptop and sat in silence for 20 minutes. Then he opened it again and saved the video to 3 different locations. He didn't cry. He didn't shout. He simply added it to the folder. That evening, Kwame came home and greeted Efua with a smile. "How was your day, my love?" he asked. She barely looked up from her phone.
"Fine.
"I'm going out tonight with Alma and Akojua. Don't wait up." But Kwame knew Alma and Akojua. He called Alma. She hadn't seen Efua in 2 weeks. He added the phone records to his folder. Over the next 2 years, Kwame became a ghost in his own marriage. He worked, paid bills, and smiled. But every insult Efua threw at him, every time she came home late, Every expensive gift Kojo bought her with money she had taken from Kwame's account. He documented everything. He took screenshots of her messages when she left her phone unlocked. He kept receipts of every transfer he made to her account. He recorded conversations where she admitted to seeing Kojo, laughing about it like Kwame was too stupid to do anything. One night, Efua brought Kojo to a family party. She introduced him as her business partner. Kojo shook Kwame's hand, smirking like he owned the world. Efua laughed when the divorce papers arrived. Actually laughed. She tossed them on the kitchen counter and looked at Kwame like he had just told a joke. "You're divorcing me? You?" She called Kojo right there in front of him, putting the phone on speaker. "Baby, you won't believe this. Kwame thinks he's going to divorce me." Kojo's laughter echoed through the kitchen. "Let him try. He'll be paying you for the rest of his life." Efua turned to Kwame, her eyes full of mockery. "You think you're smart? I'm taking half of everything. The house, your savings, your pension. My lawyer says I'm entitled to it all. You should have treated me better when you had the chance." Kwame simply nodded and walked away. That night, he transferred documents to his lawyer, a sharp woman named Ajali who had been waiting for this moment. "Are you absolutely sure?" she asked him. "Once we do this, there's no going back." "I'm sure," Kwame said. "Let's finish it." The court hearing was set for 3 weeks later. During that time, Efua moved Kojo into the house. They slept in Kwame's bed while he stayed in the guest room. She wanted to humiliate him one last time, to break whatever spirit he had left. But Kwame just kept going to work, kept smiling, kept waiting. Now, standing in that courtroom, watching the judge review every single piece of evidence, Kwame felt nothing but calm. The judge had seen the videos, the bank statements showing Efua had contributed nothing to the household, the deed proving Kwame owned the house before marriage, the testimonies from neighbors who witnessed Kojo coming and going, the text messages where Efua admitted to the affair and mocked her husband. "Mrs. Mensah," the judge said firmly, "you have no claim to this property. Furthermore, given the evidence of adultery and financial misconduct, you are entitled to nothing from this marriage. This divorce is granted, effective immediately." Efua's face went from shock to rage. "This isn't fair. I gave him 3 years of my life." Kwame's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, we also have a list of items Mrs. Mensah purchased using my client's money, which she gave to Mr. Kojo Darko. We're requesting full reimbursement." The courtroom went silent. Efua's lawyer looked defeated. There was no defense for what everyone could now see clearly. As Kwame walked out of the courthouse that day, his phone buzzed. Messages from family members who had finally learned the truth. Messages from friends apologizing for not believing him. Even a message from Efua's sister Abina, saying simply, "I'm sorry. We were all wrong about you." Kwame didn't respond to any of them. He drove to his house, the house that was legally and completely his, and changed all the locks. By evening, Efua's belongings were packed in boxes on the front step. When she arrived with Kojo to find herself locked out, she banged on the door, screaming and crying. Kwame watched from the window upstairs, then closed the curtain. He had spent 3 years being called weak, foolish, and pathetic. 3 years being disrespected in his own home. But he had never been any of those things. He had been patient. He had been smart. And now he was finally free. 2 months later, Kwame heard through mutual friends that Kojo had left Efua. Apparently, she had no money anymore, no house, and suddenly she wasn't so interesting. She had called Kwame 17 times, begging to talk, begging for another chance. He never